Hi everyone, can you guys hear me? We really don't have a lot of people on the meeting this evening, but I would go ahead with the class, by the way. So my name is Oge and it's nice to meet you guys. So I'm going to be taking on responsive design today. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you. Good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Can
okay.
you hear me? Good evening.
Okay. All right. All right. That's great. That's great. All right. So I'm going to be talking about responsive design today. Just give me a second so I can share my screen. All right, so I already have this done already, and I'm going to be using this um as an example for today's class. So this is just an hero section for a company, but I'm going to be using this as an example to teach you guys how responsive design actually works. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, if you have any questions, please just put them down in the chat box, because if you interrupt me as I teach, I might find it difficult going back to what I was saying before most times. I like to digress a lot too much. So, all right, so let's get right into it. So now we already have our um we have our navigation menu, we have our hero content, and we have just this illustration here. So this is more like just a representation, more like a demo. So the idea is it's meant to play if it's going to be a live website, right? So I'm going to recreate this and then show you guys how the responsive thing works, okay? So let's get started. We already have our elements here, so I'm going to be using this to do whatever it is that we have to do, okay? I need to design from scratch so that you guys can understand how exactly it works. So um let's bring in a frame first of all, right? Because that's the first thing we need to do. So select a frame. And we're using a desktop. So we have our desktop here, right? And so now I'm gonna have to zoom in. I have a problem with this navigation menu. It's always a problem for me. All right, so this is better. So I'm just gonna use the default font I have here, which is Inter. Then I'm gonna make this medium. And let me just use 18. So this is going to be like my logo, right? So I'm going to duplicate so I can create the rest of the, so I have features, pricing, and about us. So I have features, pricing, and about us. Okay. Remember, I'm zoomed in, guys. That's why it's like this. Just oh, there's something we didn't do. Can somebody tell me there's something we didn't do? We're missing something. We're supposed to do something before starting the design proper. I want this to be an interactive class, so please feel free to
Read.
Naming the frame. Naming the frame.
no, not naming the frame.
You are supposed to
Okay.
do the grade.
Yes, exactly. I'm supposed to do the grid because now you can see that I'm going off line. You can see that. So I'm going to go to layout grid.
Great.
So I'm going to give it a count of 16. I'm going to use 120. You can actually use 120 or 100. Can you now see now, guys? So you can see that I was already going off chart. So I'm going to pull this in. Okay, so we have that in place. So this is meant to be here, right? And then we have customer login and sign up. Okay. Now let me zoom in so you guys can see clearly. So I'm going to use Control D to duplicate and then call this customer login. Now let's create our button. What does the button say? Sign up. So I'm going to Control D. There are different ways of making a button, but it's always best to use auto layout, right? So this is what? Sign up, right? So I'm going to use this here and then, oops. Okay, so we have sign up, right? You can see that the button is this, like this. I'm going to show you how to like pick colors if you don't really know how to do that, just to maintain the whole consistency we have in this design. Remember, I'm trying to just design this from scratch and then show you how the whole responsive design thing works, okay? So now I'm going to use Shift A, right? I added auto layout because I'm going to use the auto layout word to make this word a button. For responsiveness sake, this is just the best way to design buttons actually. Instead of, I'm going to show you the other method, but let's continue. So the spacing here is 0. We have padding space of 10 and 24, right? So I'm going to give this horizontal padding of 16. I think this, let's give it 16 and let's see how it looks. Oh, this looks too big. Okay, let's leave it at 12, right? So I'm going to change these to white. Now, the auto layout itself is supposed to have a fill. I'm going to give it a fill color, right? So I'm going to click on fill. Now, I don't know the exact color that was used here, so I'm going to use the color picker, right? I'm going to click on this and just come here and click on this. So you can see they use 000. Because of readability issues, right? It's not really best to use 000 most times, right? So let's just change it to the different shades of black you can see here. Let me use 131313. So I have that here. Don't worry, it will all come together by the time I remove the grid, okay? So now let me put this in an auto layout. Shift A. What's the spacing between them? 22. Let's make it 20. I'm going to put this on auto layout. Okay, now you see that the buttons are curved. So let's make this what? Curved. We're going to put, we're going to give the corner radius of 10. Let's see how that looks. Okay, 10 looks good. Now I'm going to click on this, click on the button, put them in an auto layout, and then make the spacing what? 20. Right? We have our logo here. So you can see everything is on check. Okay, so I'm going to put all of these things in an auto layout. I'm going to set them to auto, right? This is not in the... You see, this is not in the middle. So I'm going to have to ungroup and then place this properly. It has to be in the middle. Okay. Then we have our circle here, and then we have this. So it depends on how you want the navigation menu to look like. Sometimes people want them to be like at the extreme end. That's it fills up, it gets to this margin line that you have here. Sometimes it just stays like exactly at the middle, right? So I'm gonna set constraint, right, guys? So constraint is basically, constraint helps with responsive design. It lets you set your dimensions to the elements that you want that are in your design, exactly how you want them placed. Now, before I do anything, you can see that this is not responsive. It's moving alongside basically, right? I'm just going to set this back to 1440. So that's the default for desktop. So this circle, I'm going to set it to left top. It's already there. Pricing is going to be center and top. Okay, we have that there. And then this is going to be, so I'm going to set this to right. So now let me put them in an auto layout. Okay. So I have this here like this. Now let's check if it's responsive. Can you see that it's not responsive yet? Something is wrong. So we need to fix that. Let's set this to auto. Now you can see that it's responsive. So even if I try to resize this down, but you see, it's not particularly responsive to, let me remove the grid so you guys can see properly. Okay, now, can you see what's going on here? So let's set this to, let's check out the constraint again. Okay, center and top. Is meant to be set to left. Okay, so now let's see. Okay. So if you don't set it up like this, so now this is done properly. Now this is the correct way. You can see that it's moving. So I set the whole constraint to what? Left and right. The reason why, if you look at, let me try this again. Just monitor this circle. It's not going to move. Can you see that, guys? So the reason why it's not moving is because I set this particular constraint for circle to what? To left. So it is fixed here because this doesn't really have to like move. You know, if you're trying to resize, if I'm resizing down to this is like a an iPad frame. Then if I reduce it further, I have like a mobile frame. That's basically what is responsive. That's basically what responsive is all about. But it's not, of course, it's not going to be like this, right? But the reason why is because you want to maintain this basically, right? So let's go back to the default setting for desktop. One four four zero. Okay, so we have this, right? Let me put on the grid. So we have this here. The navigation is done. I think something is going outside. Can you guys see that? This particular end is outside. Okay. Set to center. Okay. So we have it here. The next thing we have is an AI tool made for conversion rate optimization. So let's tap that. An AI tool made for conversion rate optimization. Right, guys, so we have this here. I'm just going to set alignment to what? To center. What else do we have? Increase your conversion rate using AI. It would have been easy for me to copy this, you know that, right? But let's just, continue from scratch. Increase your conversion rate with AI. This is not exactly as we have here. So what do we need to do? We need to adjust the font size and the font weight. Okay. I'm not supposed to use 000 as my words, as my color. You know that, guys. I mentioned that to you guys earlier. So let me change this here. 131313 before I forget. This, according to this is not what's black. So let's check the color for this. 5, let me just copy it. So I can do that here. Okay, so I have this here, right? Let me set to align center. Okay, now increase your conversion rate using AI. Oh, this is supposed to be using AI. Okay, so I have this here. So I'm just going to increase it to, let me use semi-bold, and I'm going to use, let's use 40. Let's see. I'm going to align middle. So set alignment to middle. Let's see. Now you can see that they actually used let me replicate this button first. We have create account here, right? So I'm going to just easily copy this button I have here, or I just use Control D and then I drag it out. It says create account. Are you guys following? Because it seems everybody's just quiet. Don't worry, if you have questions, just put them down in the chat. I promise to answer every question. So we have this create account here. What else are we missing? So it says 30 days free trial, no credit card required. Okay, so let's type that. 30 days free trial. No what? No credit card required. Remember, I think it's using the same color as in the first one, but let's just check the same thing. So we're going to use this. Remember, I already copied it before, so I'm just going to Control V, and I have it here. I'm going to set alignment to what? Set alignment to center. So it's here. Now let's work on this. Now this is a gradient. This is a gradient. So we just need to understand the gradient that was being used here. Oh, that's a lot. So do you want us to replicate the same gradient, guys, or you want me to just copy this exactly and paste here? You guys should suggest.
Replicate.
Okay. Okay, so I have pink, blue, and then purple. I think the main color here is purple. Okay. So I'm gonna come here. I'm gonna go to color. I'm gonna set this to linear. And this is, so I copied the base color so that it's easier to use, right? So I have this here. Okay. So I have this one. The person actually used blue. So let's choose a blue color here. I'm going to use something like this and reduce the to 52. Then I think the last color they use is what? Pink, right? So for this one, I'm going to just look for pink here. This is a very sharp pink color. Okay. So we have this. Okay. I think we got it. Okay, this is meant to be 100. Okay. So increase your conversion rate using AI. So I'm going to align everything center. I hope you guys understood that. So what I did, I just copied the base color from here, and then they used purple, blue, and pink, right? And that's what I used to, but I'm noticing something that the blue is not even showing. Let me check again. Oh, this is showing 37%, supposed to be 52. Okay. That's a really strong pink color that I used. Let's see what is here. Okay, so this is set to 100. Okay. Gradient can be quite dicey at times. You just need to know how to. So I'm trying to adjust where, because if you look at this one, guys, you're going to see that the pink is here, then it has like a blend here, and then here is fully the last color. So let's try to make that work. Here is fully pink. Let me zoom in. So this is pink. Then we have this one here. Let me change this to 52. Okay, then I have this one here. Okay. Now, I think we got it. It looks better. So now we're done with this. So now let's put everything into what? An auto layout, right? So we're going to start with, I like to do it group text by text and not everything in an auto layout because of responsiveness sake. Please guys, remind me to show you these button differences later. That's if you're trying to use auto layout to like create a button, or if you're just putting bringing up a frame and then putting a text inside, the difference that it makes. Okay, please, somebody should remind me so I don't forget. Okay, so now I'm going to put these two in an auto layout. I'm going to hold shift down and then hold this and then shift A. So because this is meant to be like a smaller text, I'm just going to give the spacing between them a 12. Okay. And then I'm going to set this to what? Okay, it's already in fill, right? So let's see this one. This one is already in fill. Okay, so I'm going to hold this, right? Click on Shift and then click on Create button and then Shift A. Spacing between this and this button, let's just give it 24, right? So you can see this is automatically a frame and this is another frame. So I'm going to set this to what? To fill container, right? So fill container is if you want it to like fill up in the particular position that it stays in. So if I'm trying to resize this desktop now, automatically it resizes to whatever size that I give it. You're going to understand when I do that, okay? Button remains the same, so we don't necessarily have to set our buttons to what to fill, because this automatically fits the size of what of a mobile screen. Let me explain. So if I click on frame and bring in a mobile an iPhone frame, so we're using iPhone 13 mini, right? Let me duplicate this button and have it here. So you're going to see that this button actually fits here. Do you understand? So no matter how much because I'm going to resize this desktop to this iPhone frame, you're going to see that. So that's why we don't necessarily have to put this create account buttons, or generally we don't put buttons in fill containers, because they also fit whatever size you're trying to resize it down to. Okay. If I click on this now and I'm trying to increase this, you can see that it's still going to fit in whatever way. Do you understand? That's why we don't necessarily have to put like buttons into like fill containers. We just leave them the way that they are, because they still fit no matter how much you try to resize them. So now it's remaining this. I'm going to click on this and hold shift down, click on this and shift A. So let's give it a spacing of 12. Let's see. Okay, that's too close. 16. Okay, let's leave it at 16. So I have this one here. I'm going to set this to fill container, and then I have this one here. Sorry, guys. Okay. So align center. Now I have this, right? So now let's try to see if it's responsive. Can you see what we have here? You can see what's going on. When I try to resize it down, this automatically becomes 2 lines. These are just to 2 lines, but now the button is on top of the of the text. Can you see that, guys? So now let's do something about it. So I'm going to set the constraint to scale. Okay. It's on center and top. So I'm going to set constraint to scale. Now let's see how that works. It's still giving us the same thing, right? Let me click on this. I don't know if I set this to fill container. Oh, it's in hot content. Can you see that, guys? So that's why you need to, when you see that something is wrong with whatever you're trying to do, right? Because sometimes you might actually forget. You might think that, oh, you've already actually set this ones to fill. You need to just go back and then click on them one by one and then see that you've actually set them to fill. So the reason why it's not resizing is because this particular one is still in Warthog content. Can you see that now? So I'm going to set it to fill container. Can you see that, guys? So now let me click on the whole design and let's try to resize down. My button is giving me issues. So let's see this button. I don't want to set button to hug. This is supposed to be in fill. This small one is. So responsive design can be quite tricky. That's why you always need to go back and check. As long as you understand and you know the basics, you just know that it has to do with what? Auto layout and constraint. If you can set the auto layout and the constraint right, automatically you've gotten the responsive design. So I'm just trying to see and then figure out where exactly went wrong. So this is set to fill. This is set to fill. Fill container. Okay, it's set to fill. Let me remove it from scale. And let's see. So the button is that's giving me issues now. So it means that I practically have to fix this button. Now something is wrong. The spacing here is 24, middle top alignment. I don't necessarily have to set the buttons to, I hope you guys understand what I'm doing. I'm just basically using my resizing properties and under auto layout. So I'm trying to figure out where the issue is coming from for this button and why it's not resizing. So the whole text is in fixed height. Okay. All right, so let's try. So can somebody tell me what's wrong here? I mean, we're all here to learn. So can somebody tell me why this button is not resizing to fit the properties? Let me zoom in so you guys can see properly. So everything is responsive except the buttons. Okay, hold on, let me check something. Oh, okay, I see where the problem is. I see where the problem is. Okay. Can somebody tell me what we're doing wrong?
I think the button is on hog or something.
Yeah, but if you set the button to fill, right? This is what it gives you, which doesn't necessarily solve it. Let's experiment. See. Can you see? So that's why I said we don't set buttons to what? To hug, to fill, sorry. We just leave them as hug content because no matter how they are, you know, we experimented with this navigation menu where you see that no matter how much I try to resize this, the buttons remain the same. Can you see? So anybody else?
Yeah, I think it's because the frame itself is on a fixed height, so it doesn't like the height doesn't adjust as you scale it from the side. I think
Okay, showing a fixed height here. So you think we should use hug content?
maybe, yeah.
Okay, let's see how that works. It doesn't solve it. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Although there's no way that it will get to this point actually, right? For mobile screens, because so let's duplicate. First of all, I need to remove this from all content. It's meant to be fixed height.
Okay.
So Control D. So let's move it here. This is meant to be an iPhone frame. So let's take it back to 375. Oh, can you guys see what happened just now? So what I'm trying to show you guys here is that you can see what I'm saying. So if we're trying to resize this now in the iPhone frame, can you see that it is actually covering the what? Unless we have to adjust it like this, right? But another thing is, if it's going to be an iPhone frame, we're still going to reduce the text size. Automatically, it's going to fit. This one is not a problem because by the time you reduce the text size, you can't have the same text size for what? For iPhone frame. It's going to be too bold. I'm going to show you guys that later, but let's deal with this, okay? We still have this on fixed height, right? Okay, so we're going to come back to this. Let's move ahead so that we don't waste so much time on that. So this is meant to be like a demo, right? So I'm just going to duplicate this. And place it here. So let me remove the grid so that you guys can see it properly. Should I remove this now? Okay. You can always increase the height so that it fits properly. So we're going to have this here. If you don't know how to set just use the alignment so that everything is set to what? To middle.
Okay.
So now we have this here. The spacing between this is wrong. This is meant to have enough spacing to accumulate the content inside. Nobody pointed that out to me, so let me adjust it quickly. So I'm going to set this to auto and set this like this. There's meant to be spacing in between them. It cannot be enclosed. Why? So that, because if this is meant to be a live website, users are supposed to be able to click. But if they are too close, they cannot click. Do you understand? So that's why I'm actually doing it this way. So I'm going to now put everything into an auto layout and let's see. Okay. So I'm done with that. If you also check with the grid, you're going to see that it's still going to be within the what? Oops, it's out. Thank God we checked it though. Oh, I've done something now, it's not responsive. Okay, I didn't set this to auto. So you see that at times when I try to work on it, it gives me an issue. But the thing is, as long as you know the basics, because sometimes auto layouts can be very tricky, and that's why there are a lot of designers that don't even use auto layout to design, which is really wrong, right? It's not like they cannot actually set this properly without auto layouts. But if you're working with developers at the end of the day, auto layout also helps to show your work rate. How do I explain it? It just shows that you actually know your onions and you know what you're doing, because a developer is actually going to auto layout is like Flexbox in CSS, right? And it's just really easier for them to navigate through building all of this in CSS. So that's why auto layout is really, really very good. And again, because of the responsiveness sake, you can see now I'm able to do whatever it is I have to do, right? So let me set that to middle back. So we have our design ready. Now we're going to click on this and let's make this responsive, shall we? First of all, I'm going to make this a frame selection, right? Because we don't use grouping over here. So when I go to my file and I click on this, I'm going to ungroup. Okay, so now I have play and I have dashboard. I'm going to set this to, okay, this is already the constraint. You can see the constraint is showing up here. It says left and top, right? So it's going to remain that way. Then I'm going to click on the image itself. This is an image, guys. Oh, let me remove the grid so you guys can see properly. This new Figma UI is so annoying. Okay, so the image is set to crop. So I'm going to change it to what? Fill. Now, the reason why I'm changing the fill is to do what? Because of what? Resizing properties, so that it's become responsive when I'm trying to do what? Reduce it. Do you guys understand? So I'm going to set this to what? No, let's put it as scale, because we also want the picture to, like, the image to scale. So when you click on this play circle we have here, I'm going to set this towards center, right? Because we also want it to be at the center. So now let's see. Oh, I didn't take the whole Ctrl Z. So now let's try. Can you guys tell me what's wrong here? Something is wrong. Between these three elements, only one thing is responsive. What is that, guys? Hello? If anybody is speaking, I can't hear you guys. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. So I need somebody to answer me. This is not responsive. Only one element is responsive in this case. And can somebody tell me why? Okay, then let's move ahead. So it is just the middle one that's responsive. You can see that if I'm trying to move this, it moves along. This circle is meant to be fixed. So let's adjust this one. I'm going to ungroup. Now let's check that this one is, okay, it's left and top. Okay. Okay, so I have the constraint of this set to left and top. I'm going to put this to auto layout. Now let's see. Okay, that solves the problem. Now let's see. It is not being responsive. Now that's an issue. Let me put on the grid so I can monitor this properly. Okay. All right. So the navigation menu is responsive, but it is not responsive with the design. Can you guys see something is wrong? And we really, really have to fix this. Now, this is another problem. I'm setting constraint to center. This is constraint is left to top. It is resizing here, but it is not resizing in the full desktop. Let me see the constraint of this desktop safe. Okay, it's already on clip content. So why is it giving me this? Can you guys see? It's not resizing. Let me change this to 1440. Set align to middle, center and top. Okay, guys, so in this case, I need us to put our heads together. What do we do? Because now we need to solve this responsive design. The navigation menu is resizing, but the frame itself housing all the elements is not resizing to fit this. So what do we do, guys?
I thought it was actually resized when you set the constraints to left and right.
No, left and right. See what it was doing. This is correct, right? When I
Yeah.
click on the whole frame, this is what it shows up. Oh, it actually did. Oh, I didn't even see that.
Okay.
Okay, so we've solved that. Then this one should be in the middle. Wait, what's the problem with this image? Let me see again. It's resizing properly now. Okay, so we're done. Oh, I was looking at a different frame size. Oh, that's why. But let me check this properly. Oh. Where's the image? Okay, the image is set to fill. This play button that we have here. Okay, center and top constraints. Okay. Okay, then this three dotted line we have here. Left, okay, good. All right, so guys, you can now see that this is responsive. Can you see now, guys? So we're going to make the what? We're going to make the what? The web version of this. So let me delete this one. We're coming to, so responsiveness is basically trying to scale what different sizes of frame. So it means that anybody with a laptop can be able to view this, no matter the size of your laptop. If you're using a 13-inch laptop or a 14-inch laptop, it's going to resize. Why? Because I set the constraints and the what and the auto layout to this properly, so that the elements in there are being what? They are being responsive. Do you understand? So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to do that of what? Like for an iPad frame. That's what I'm trying to do. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go to frame. Let's use iPad mini 744. Oh my God. Instead of me to click on frame, I clicked on rectangle. This is iPhone. So we're going to go to tablet. So we're using iPad mini, right? This is what we're using. So I'm going to set the grid. Okay. Should we use 12 or should we use 6? Let me use 6. It differs, actually depends. So the count is depending on your design complexity, basically, right? You might have to like use your eyes to like gauge that. So I'm going to set my margin to 24, right? Because I want this to, if I use 16, look, it's going to be tighter, right? And then I want that space to breathe, so I'm going to use 24. Like I said, it depends, right? The most common one that people actually use is always the desktop and the mobile frame, right? Then I'm going to set the gutter to 16. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to leave it like this. So now let's resize our component. So now we already have, that's one thing I love about responsive design, because once you do all of this responsive design, it is very easier to scale here. Now watch, I'm going to just duplicate the navigation menu I have here. Right? It doesn't fit now, guys, right? So what do you suggest I do?
You said the frame to fit container.
Okay. See, this is how it's going to look like. Oh. So you know how you're using your mobile applications, if you're trying to like order food and any application in particular that has a menu, you see that the menu is always represented with an icon and not by text. Have you guys noticed that? So we're going to do what? We're going to remove all of this and look for what? A menu, like a hamburger menu. So I'm going to ungroup, right? I'm going to click on this, delete, this, delete, and I have what? My logo here. Now let's get the hamburger menu. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to plugins. Which plugin should we use? Let's use Iconify. So let's search for menu.
Is it
Now,
one?
the third one.
Yes.
One thing I want you guys to understand is if you're choosing an icon for a particular project, you can see that in this design, our buttons are curved. It means that any card I'm going to be designing here has to what? Has to be curved. It has to maintain the same consistency. So if you want to get an icon, right? If you're using outlined icons, please continue with that. If you're using filled icons, please continue with that. What we have different type of icon. Don't go and use filled icons here and they're using like outlined icons separately. It's going to like alter the whole design. So I'm not going to use this because this looks really, really thin, right? And if I bring it, okay, let me bring it in here so that you guys will see. Let me bring this one too. Can you see the difference? This is really, really, this is bold a bit, but this is too light. I can't use it here. Personally, for me, I don't think we should use this here because of readability sakes, right? For users to be able to view this properly. But if I use this one, it's just going to fit. What do you guys think? But anyone you say I should use, I'll use. Which one should I use, guys?
Last one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to put them in an auto layout. Let's delete this one. Now, this is an auto layout. I'm going to set it to align center, right? Let's bring this up a bit. Okay. So now we have this, right? So now we have that. Now the next thing we're going to do is what? Bring in our what? Our second element. So I'm just going to do Control D and bring it in here, right? You can see that it fits. I don't really have to reduce anything, right? So let's set this to middle. But now let's see what happens. Oh, it's not resizing. Can you guys see? It's not resizing. So this is supposed to be left and right. Okay, exactly. So we have that sorted. Then let's use scale for this. Let's see how this works. Exactly. So now we're going to have to reduce the size of this because this is now too much for what? For an iPad design. So we're going to reduce this to, let's leave it at semi-bold 2, but let's reduce it to like 32. Okay. Um, so I want to make sure that it is still in fill container. You can see that it is still set to fill. This one is set to fill. Thank God we could check that one. Okay, this one is meant to be in fixed height, so that's all. So now let's resize and see. Of course, it's never actually going to get to this point though. But something is wrong. So when we resize to this, it fits properly. If we go further, the button, what's the spacing here? 24. Oh, this is set to fixed height. That's why, you see guys, that's why you need to always check these things, because it will just now the button is covering. What did I just do? Okay, this is not properly covering this. Why is the spacing here too much? Okay. This one is meant to be like this. Then this is set to fill. Why is this one? Okay. Fill container. So let me increase it back. Let's see. Okay. So it works. Okay. So the only problem we're having is the text. And usually, this text that I reduced, should I reduce the... No, I don't want to use 24. Why? Can you guys see something? Look at the text for this, the one that has increased your conversion rate. It's not covering the AI. Can you guys see? I think it's set to fixed width.
But I think the problem is from the resizing for the text.
No, it's from the... Yes, from the text itself. Now let's see how that goes. But now there's a problem. Because this is correct, can you see? It has resized properly. You see that it's now 3 lines. When I go back, it's 2 lines. When I go back, it's 2 lines. But there's a problem now because the spacing is too much. Can you see? The spacing now is not going to be the problem. But if you remove the spacing, the button is going to be covering the using AI when it comes under. See what I'm talking about? Because of that spacing there, this automatically shows up properly, right? But if we go back to this and we reduce the spacing, it doesn't show up. So let's do that and let's see. Why is this having decimal point? Can you see? If you look at this text, if you want to reduce it to like fixed width, right? So that it fits properly, it is not going to resize accordingly. Let's see. Can you see what I'm talking about, guys? So you see that that's why when you give designers project to do, they always charge you because it's a lot of mental gymnastics. And at the same time, you want to like release out the product that's really good. So now let's try to balance this. This has to be balanced because we can't have so much space in here. Oh, except to reduce this a little bit. This is 32 as well. This is the exact design that we have here, right? What's this? This spacing here is too much. Okay, it resized when I resized, reduced it down. Okay, let's set it to fill container. That's where the problem is. No, the spacing is not. I have now. Let me use Ctrl Z. Okay. So I wanted to go back to where we got it right, but I need to also check is in fixed height. It's not supposed to be. Okay, it's in fixed height because I reduced it. Yes, Chukwuka, speak.
Okay, I feel the issue for like the main text, I think it's from the text box itself.
Yes,
Yeah,
but the text,
yeah,
look at the text box. This is a text box.
yeah. Now,
And it's in 32.
no, not the this not the font size. I mean on
Okay.
this resizing option now.
Mm-hmm.
There are three, but I think the text box appears to be closed when you scale it, so it doesn't scale down. Like the height doesn't change.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, the
So
height doesn't
the height
change.
doesn't change. Probably I think you should put it on the one in the middle. No, down. Yes. That place. I think you should put it on auto height. You see that one is fixed. I think you should put it on auto height. Then try
Okay.
again. No, that's auto height. Auto height.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see how that works. Because it's only this main text that's our problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem.
A big problem.
What's the problem, guys? The spacing here, right? So I think I understand what's happening now. So let me, you know what? Let's just I'm trying to click on this. Why is this not clicking? Let's bring this in again, because we have done too many adjustments in that one. So I'm just going to do what? Set alignment to middle. Let me see what I'm doing wrong from here. Now I'm going to reduce the text size of this to 32. So because I reduce the text size, automatically we have space here. Oh, okay. I'm going to set this to auto height, right? And spacing is 24, yeah? Is it set to fill? Okay, set to fill. Okay, so let's see. Oh, what did I do? Scale. Okay. Can you see? It's still giving us that issue. And this is actually an iPhone frame size. So this, oh, so the reason why it's not like this is because of the size of the text. Okay, so that's what we're having problem. So let me go to frame 744 by 133. Okay, so I think we have, but the spacing is too much. Oh. Guys, can you guys, is it just me that is seeing it? Now the spacing is better. So if we're trying to do this, okay, it scales down. Okay, so we've gotten it now. So if you're trying to reduce down to a mobile screen size, it practically means that you just have to reduce the text size. Control D. I haven't. How do I resize this? Let me ask the question before I do it. If you guys know, how do you resize images? You know that if you're trying to resize a text, right? Control D, let's bring this one outside. If you're trying to resize this text now, I can easily just do this, right? Can you see? Can you guys see? But now, how do you resize images?
From the angle,
No, which angle?
the edge.
You mean
Edge
drag
is,
it down?
yes.
No, can you see? See what's happening? You can't resize it like that. So you just click on K on your keyboard and then scale it down. That way you are maintaining the same properties of the what of the image. Can you see what I did now, guys? This is, don't ever do this, so guys. Let me Control Z so I can show you guys again. When you scale an image like this, let me remove my cursor from scale. When you scale an image like this, look at what happens. Let me zoom in. Can you see? It's shifting the whole image. I'm not even scaling everything. Why am I not holding everything? Can you see what's happening, guys? It comes out. If I'm trying to reduce it, it's shifting, it's going left. You can see the dashboard, the elements by the left are what? They're all closing. Can you see?
Out of bundle.
And then when you're trying to do it this way as well, it's the same thing. See what happens. It reduces in what? In height. Can you see? So it is not really cool to do
Or you
what?
can use the shift.
What shift?
You can hold your shift key, then you drag the arm.
No, I don't hold shift. I just click on K. I don't know. I think you have to use Command K if you're using a Mac, but if you're using a Windows, just click on K. Automatically, the scale comes up. You see it like down here like this, and you see that your cursor changes. Look at it's now bolder. Can you see? So you just hold it from the angle and then scale it up. That way, you are maintaining the same properties of what and the size of what of the image. Can you see? So let's set this to middle alignment, and I'm going to have always remember to remove the scale so that you don't start scaling all of your designs. So let's see how this works. Oh, it's supposed to be 774, Abby.
Seven four four.
I always forget this iPad size. I hardly design for iPad because when you're working with developers, they automatically just do it. I don't have to. Okay, so let's check the responsiveness. Something's wrong. We set this to center. Oh no, I'm supposed to check this one first. Okay, left top, center top, then the whole image itself. Let's set this to what? To scale. Hey, we didn't check on the image. Is the image set to fill? Let's see. Even though you copied it, always check, guys, so that you know where the problem is coming from when the problem shows up. So now let's check. So now it is scaling properly. So I set this to scale, right? So now let's design for what? For mobile. You can always reduce the height if you want to. This thing is always a problem. Oh my God, what have I done? I wasn't picking the frame. Can you imagine? And nobody said anything. So I'm going to scale it down, right? Going to remove this, cross-check the properties as aligned, the constraint of each of the elements. Okay. Okay, set to fill. I want to set this to center. Let's see first. So because the center is not giving us what we want, so I'm going to change it to, let's leave it at left and right. Let's see. It's supposed to be scale because that's the only way. See, I know it has to be scale because when you now use left and right, it just doesn't scale down the image. Okay. So our dimensions are 744. So now we're done with our iPad. So you can see that it is responsive, guys. So we're done with this. You can always reduce the height so that it just fits properly. Let me remove the grid. The spacing here is too much, guys. We didn't even check spacing. We're just checking for responsiveness. Guys, always check for spacing. Okay. So now let's design forward for the iPhone frame. I'm going to click on frame. So now for iPhones, the default iPhones to use is iPhone 13 mini. You know why? That's because it's the only one that is really like scalable. What I mean by that is whatever I design on a 13, let me bring other frames so that you guys can see. We should be rounding up this class pretty much soon. Okay, let me bring in iPhone 14 Plus. Now, this is just a frame. I'm going to show you how it's going to look like in the mock-up if you're trying to preview, right? But what I'm trying to explain here is whatever you design here can scale up to fit any other, any other iPhone frame size. Whatever I design here, I can scale it up to fit an iPhone 14 Plus. I can scale it up to fit an iPhone 15 Pro, even 16 Pro Max, it will fit in. But if you design with iPhone 14 Plus, you cannot scale it to fit what other iPhone frames. That is why the default iPhone frame to use when designing your mobile applications is what? iPhone 13 mini. Please, guys, take note of this. Don't go and use iPhone 14 Plus, because by the time you're working on a live project, a mobile developer will not be able to do what? Except person is really very experienced, then he might just speak to you. But now that's a whole lot of work because now you're going to start adjusting all of your designs from beginning to the end. That's if the person is not that experienced. But if the person is very experienced and you're lucky enough, they can just do the whole thing from their end. Do you understand? But of course, it doesn't really like portray a good sense of, it doesn't show that you know your onions when it comes to you being a designer, right? So we're going to remove this and we're going to work with this. I believe you guys are familiar with mobile screens. So what's the grid for this? Let me ask you guys. What's the count?
Count is 4.
12, 12, 24, 16.
12.
Count is 4.
Four now.
Ah,
Four.
no, it cannot be 12. Oh. See what 12 looks like. Oh.
Nah.
Okay,
That
so
should be
count is
four.
12. The margin is
Four.
what?
Margin is 16.
16, got at 20.
Okay, that's good. So now we have our layout done. So we're going to bring in this. I'm going to bring this in here. Right? I'm just going to do this. You see the reason for auto layout. Imagine that I did not do this thing here now. I will start doing everything afresh. That's one thing with auto layout and responsive design. It just helps you. It just helps you to do whatever it is that you want to do easily, right? So we're done with this. You might want to zoom in so that you see that you're not out of line. Most times I don't really like to even get to the edge of the margin, just in case. Okay, so we have that. So I'm going to duplicate this, right? Oh my gosh, Control Z. Control D. I'm going to bring it in here. Now let's reduce the size of this. So let's use 24. So I'm going to bring this in. So do you understand what I was talking about here, guys? That the reason why we're trying to resize this to mobile, it wasn't sure was because what? Because of the text size. So as you resize, you have to reduce text size. You know why? If you use this particular text size in mobile, it will show when you preview. I'm going to do an example for you guys, but let's finish this right one first. So I'm going to just set this to be in the middle. So I have this. Then I'm going to bring in our image, Control D. I'm going to bring in this image here. And what do I do, guys? I'm going to scale. Don't forget, guys. So I'm going to scale like this. You know that I'm just duplicating. So it maintains the same the same properties, right? The image is scaling, but the text is not
No,
scaling.
I don't think that text is in the frame. I don't think it's in the
Oh,
frame.
really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
you
not in
see,
the frame. It's not in
that's
the frame.
another thing to always look out for, right? It's true, it's not in the frame. So let's bring it in. Okay. Let's see how that goes. So we have our stuff ready. So we're done with that. Let me just change it to 375. Now I wanted to show you guys something. So I'm just going to duplicate this, right? I'm going to delete this one. Now let's bring this image here. Control D. I'm not going to reduce the size so that you guys will see what I'm talking about. Remember that I'm doing this because it is a text. You don't scale up text, guys. You see that it's not showing. Why? Because of the size of the frame is smaller. It doesn't fit the text. Do you understand? You can see this button is actually blocking the rest of the text. That's the one that says using AI, right? And then also, if I'm trying to preview, now let's preview this design. Oh no. Why is my prototype showing that way? Okay, guys, can you see? So it's always good to preview your mobile designs so that you can actually see how you can see that there's a lot of space in here. This is too up, so we're going to bring this down a bit. I want to, you see, it's a little bit at the edge. So let's bring it close. I'm going to bring this up here a bit. The spacing is too much. Now you see that it looks better, right? I'm going to bring this up here. Me and this dashboard, we have problem. Me and this dashboard, we have problem, guys. Because when I'm trying to scale it down, that's one thing you always have to be careful of. Now let's delete it. Can you see what happens? I made that mistake before. I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to do Control D. Okay, so you know why this is showing like this? It's because this is what is like the dashboard for. Oh my God. Hold on, guys. Did I duplicate this? Let me start from here. So I'm going to Control D. Just ignore whatever this iPhone frame is doing. This is correct. So where we have our issue is this tab, right, guys? So I'm going to delete this. Whatever you're doing, always make sure, no matter how it looks like you're going to start afresh, sometimes it happens in design, right? Let's remove this. We're going to come back to this so that we can do this properly. Now let's do it outside and not inside. I took the wrong one. Supposed to copy from this one that we redesigned. So Control D, right? I'm going to bring it here. Now this is exactly what we have, guys. So I'm going to click on K and scale it down from here so that nothing is left. Remember this one. Look at what is wrong with this one, guys. See, let me remove the most important thing you should always consider is to do a good job. It doesn't matter how much times you have to get it right. Look at, I did not scale it with the rest of the words of the frame. Can you see? And I missed that. And the reason why I missed that was because, you know, it is white on white. I could barely even see it. It was that iPhone preview that made me see it clearly. So now I'm just going to bring this in here. I'm going to set it to what? Middle alignment. Can you see that now, guys? So this is how it's going to be. I'm going to set it to what? Scale, like we did before, and then make sure that the rest of the properties are correct. Don't worry, if you're trying to deploy this, always change decimal point. You can always approximate. It's showing decimal point because of what the scaling that I did, right? You can always see decimal points here. So you can always like adjust, approximate that. I'm going to click on this to be sure about this. Then I'm going to check on the image just to be sure. So we have, excuse me, so we have fill. So we're good with this. Now I'm going to now duplicate this image. You can see there's no residue here, right? We actually got this one right. So I'm going to Control D again. Now let's bring it out first. Before I put it in here, I'm going to click on K on my keyboard and scale it down. Now let's bring it in here. Align middle. Okay, so now we have it like this, right? I'm just going to click on this. I'm going to delete this, click on this. Always ensure to remove it in scale. So I'm going to duplicate and then bring this here. Remember, I'm trying to show you guys an example of this before we digress. So now we have, this is the correct one, and this is the one that is not being adjusted. Let me remove the, now, can you guys see that there's a difference here? This is properly adjusted, right? Because of the reduced text size, the spacing is equally the same thing. If you look at all the design, you're going to see that all of them are the same thing. Can you guys see that? This was one line here. Automatically, this became two lines here. It resized according to it what? According to the what? The constraint that is being given to it. But now, look at how this one looks like. Because I refuse to reduce the text size, automatically the create account button is covering the words, covering the rest of the text. And it doesn't look balanced. When you're designing, there's something we call, we have typography, we have colors, we have layout, we have grid systems. These are the things that make up what a design system. Now you also want to check for balance and hierarchy. You want to check for contrast issues. You can see that this is a very clear design. You see how it is. It looks really, really good. Look at the dashboard. Look at the hero section for this, right? You look like, you know that, okay, this is actually going to be very good. The contrast is on point. Everything is okay, right? This particular gradient use here, there's a UX reason as to why this is being used. Every design that is being done always have what? Always have a reason to it. Except you want to strictly become a UI designer. But now, UI designer, you also need to understand or have like the basic knowledge of how users perceive what product. Do you understand? Because I don't think anybody that is coming out say, okay, they want to build a product. They're not just coming to build for building sakes. No, every founder, the sole aim of every founder or every startup company is to do is to make money. They're offering a product for users and they're making money. You can see how OP, I'll always use OP as an example, right? Now, OP is a very good application that is solving a lot of problems. It's not just one. Aside the fact that you get to see, that's like an integration system that when you send money, automatically the person sees the money immediately. There's no delay, whatever, whatever, right? But there are also like different things that actually make OP a very good mobile application. Now, if it depends, I think if you're trying to send money like multiple times in a day, right? There's this overlay, like a modal that pops up and then tells you that, oh, you need to like cross check and then check that this account that you're sending money to is actually correct. Different things like that is what makes up what an application in total, because now users are happy to use this product, and once your users are satisfied, automatically it brings in money for the what, for the founder or for the business owner. Do you understand? So back to what I'm saying, there's no balance here. There's no hierarchy balance in this mobile app screen. This place is off automatically once I look at it. So now let's present and let's see how that looks. Can you see how good it looks here? Right? Now, let's click on this. See how this one looks, guys. Do you now see what I'm talking about? So responsiveness is not just, oh, whatever I do in the desktop frame, whatever I do, because this is exactly what we actually worked with. This is what we started with. Whatever I do in the desktop frame, I'm just going to replicate it here. No. As long as it has to do with text size, you're going to have to what, reduce. You see that the pictures are reducing as they go. Can you see? It is scaling down. That's exactly what responsiveness is all about. It's the same thing as this. If I'm trying to scale from the iPad to the tablet, is still going to actually increase down to the size. But most of the time, it is always like it scales down instead of scaling up. And you know why? Because now you cannot turn a mobile application to a website. Does anybody agree with me?
Yes, yeah, yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Now, you cannot turn a mobile application to a website, but you can turn a website to a web application.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That is why most times we scale down, we don't actually scale up. So no matter how many times you're trying to reduce this, you see that when you reduce this, it fits down to the mobile size. So any user that is trying to go to that website with the phone will always it will be responsive like this. This is exactly what we call responsive design. So this is going to go, guys, because this is off. You can see that this text here is causing a typography error in the rest of the design. There's no balance actually. Do you understand? So this is going to go. You see how this looks? Everything is is balanced. So that's going to be all for today's class. Let me take the questions that I have here. Any questions for me, guys?
You said you were going to tell us some about the auto layouts, difference between auto layouts for buttons and for stacking text.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let me duplicate this. Now, this is a button, right? Let me bring in a frame so I can explain to you guys. This is a button. Now, because this is actually an auto layout, I can always do this. No matter how many times I increase it, it maintains the same properties, the padding space. Can you see? The padding space, vertical padding space is what? If you check here, you're going to see that, see, it's showing 16, right? That's because it's what? It's an auto layout. Now, let's design the other way, design buttons. You bring in a frame, right? You add a field to it. Right? We're going to give it a corner radius of what? 10. Right? Now we're going to click on text, then come here and then type sign up. Now, this is our text, right? So I'm going to bring it in and set it to be in what? To be in the middle. Now, look at what happens. Does this answer the question?
Yeah. And yeah.
Exactly. I don't need to explain too much. This action alone answers the question on why this is a better form of design for your buttons than this. Okay, so any other questions before I call it a night?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, please, when setting up a grid for a mobile phone, must the margin be 16? Hello, ma'am.
Standard. Is 30.
The network that's jammed up.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry about that. So you were asking me a question. What was that?
Yeah, I said when setting up a grid for a mobile phone, must the margin be 16 or we could use 20 or 30?
No. It has to be 16. That's like the default.
So it's a standard.
Especially for, yes, like the standard for desktop and for mobile. Do you understand? We hardly design iPad screens. That's why when you go online, you see, oh, I'm a website designer, I'm a mobile app designer. Do you see I am an iPad designer? No, you don't see that. And that's because from a desktop, you can actually scale down to iPad. That's for developers part of it. So yeah. Any other question before I wrap it up?
Okay.
You're speaking on behalf of everybody.
Mouthpiece.
Ha. No, now. I've not heard some people's voice in this meeting. Orok, Oluchi, Nazom, Melinda. I've not heard you guys' voice. Any question? Ask me question. Okay, since there's no question, it's an assignment. Design design and hero section and show the responsiveness for different screens. Do you have a link to the party code design file?
No.
No. Who is that person that is crying?
Chukuka.
Okay. So I'm gonna speak to Mr. Nse and then let's know what, because I think this is the first class I'm having with you guys for this cohort. I don't think I've had a class with this cohort before. I think this is the
I think
first
you have.
class. Oh,
I think you
really?
have.
Yes, you have.
You have.
No,
Last
John
last three
Alvin, don't
classes.
speak. I think you're in the
I'm sorry.
previous cohort. You're not in this cohort. I know your name very well.
How?
Yeah.
Sorry. Orok, Chukuka, and all of we are all together. So I don't. Which cohort are you talking about?
Eh, are you
Seriously.
sure?
Yes. I said I don't know how my name appeared there because I don't think any other person bears John Alvin. Seriously, Orok, Chukuka, Oluchi, even Nazom, they're all those names are familiar names. Seriously speaking.
Yeah, it's only your name I recognize, though. I don't
Are you serious?
recognize.
Wow.
Yes, I don't recognize every other person. So I was thinking, so you mean I've taken you guys on this cohort? I can't remember.
You have. You've taken us like twice. I know I have missed 2 classes, but
No,
I know you've
she
taken
has
us
taken us
twice.
like one. She took the second class.
Yeah, and she took like the third class before we now had the first time we missed classes. We missed 2 classes at a stretch, I think, and she took us those 2 classes, and I remember vividly, bro.
These two classes one.
Oh. And I was even introducing myself as if you guys will meet for the first time. Okay, now let's go back to our boost mood because it's not like people are new to me. So for the assignment, design a SARS hero section. Yes, I'm going to be specific. So SARS is like, if we should go and Google, let me not explain too much so that I don't give you guys know
How do
what
you
there's we know what SARS, you know what SARS, when SARS website is like, mostly like B2B, B2C project, B2B, B2C product project basically. So just design SARS, go online and look for SARS inspiration for website, landing pages. There's a lot of designs. Most of them come with gradients. Now, let me give you guys tip. Most of them come with gradients. If you don't know how to use gradients very well, please don't use gradients. You are going to the ones that have very easy background colors. Maybe they choose to use black or maybe just a blend of black and white. That's fine. But using a linear gradient of multiple colors, just like I did, I don't know if you guys will be able to do that. If you cannot do that, please just go for the simple one. But let it be a SARS hero section design. That's what I want to see. Make it responsive. I'm going to speak to him because he's meant to have added you guys to the Paddy code design file. Do you understand? Everybody is meant to have access to that. So I'm going to speak to him this night after the call, and he's going to drop a message concerning that on the group chat so that whatever you guys are designing should be on the file. On the other hand, it is going to be very easy for people to copy each other. So let's go to scratch that. Design it in your own Figma file and then send them to my email address. I think that's the only way. So I'm going to drop so that people don't copy each other. Yes. Send design the file. Let me go
Mom,
to.
please, your email address.
hold
Don't
on
worry,
now?
calm down.
Hey.
I've not finished.
Uh-uh.
Before I go, don't crucify me before time reach. Yeah, just
No.
patience. So you just come here, share, copy link, and then send to what? To my email address. Easy peasy, right? So let me drop only those in this class who submit the assignment. I don't want to drop it in the group chat, so let me drop my email address here in the chat. So everybody should copy the email address. So
How do you spell SAS?
SAAS.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Oh.
So this is my. Oh, now I remember. I remember why I said John Alvin. I think, John, you followed me on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, that just came to my mind just now. Seriously.
Exactly. That's why I was thinking that you were the previous cohort, because I know
Okay,
somebody from the previous cohort actually followed me on LinkedIn.
yeah.
So
Oh,
send to my email, please. Anybody that does really well will get money from me. Like, let me monetize this one so that it's gonna be like a ginger. It's not small money. It's not 1,000. It's not 2,000. It's not 5,000.
like $100.
500,000.
Scratch that. Sha
$100.
do the work.
CPI,
Do the
CPI,
work. When
Joanne
whoever that
CPI.
wins, we send your account number. When you send your account number, any money you see there, you just close your mouth. Don't ask to anybody. That's how it work. So thank you very much. Please copy the email address. So okay, today is Monday, right? Let me give you
Friday.
guys time. Thursday. No, it can't be Friday. You have another class on Friday. And sadly, I am the one taking you that class again this weekend. So submit the assignment on Thursday. Before Thursday, 12 noon, I should have everything in my email so that I can check through before Friday class. All right. So that'll be all. Thank you so much, guys, for today's class. I'll see you guys in my next class.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome.
night.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.